Hi, I'm Nan Simonsen. I am a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. And recently I was asked to speak to a group. I was at one time a landscape designer for 15 years. I had a company, Nanscapes. And in 2007, I designed a landscape for somebody, huge piece of property, and it was just delightful. And I haven't seen them since. And I got a call from this gentleman because he's part of a philanthropic organization and he saw that I was working with the seniors at our senior center doing classes on health. And he said, would you come to our group and do a talk on aging powerfully? My book is Aging Powerfully. The story is that I began as a health coach with a lifestyle medical practice, two clinic practice founded by Dr. Wayne Dysinger, who was the third president and a founder of the College of Lifestyle Medicine. So as I say, cut my teeth with the College of Lifestyle Medicine. I'm an associate member, and with lifestyle medical clinical practice, I saw most inspiring cases, people who were told by their doctors, this is the pill you will take. You will take it for the rest of your life. We may do a procedure down the road, and that's your destiny. And we saw that that was not the case. We could transform people with pillars of health, and that's what I believe in, pillars of health, of lifestyle medicine. And we saw the complete turnarounds in cardiovascular, in diabetes, in autoimmune. Um, and so 2 years into my being a health coach with this practice that is now called Blue Zones Health, and now I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. Um, I wrote the book because of what I had learned. This is 9 pillars that I believe will help us age with power. And it begins with a memoir, so you'll understand where I began and where I had come from. Relatively short memoir, and the rest is Pillars of Health. So I did this talk, and we began with a lunch, and I could see that I came to realize that I didn't know this group and their individual preferences. And I have a particular platform on which I teach lifestyle as medicine, whole food, plant-based diets. I thought, man, oh man, I hope I don't come off as an alien in this crowd, speaking of things they would never consider. The gentleman sitting across from me was a judge. The gentleman on the other side of me was a civil attorney, and they were retired and they were now helping other people get through life in philanthropic ways. And so I just wasn't sure where this was going, but I had my presentation. It was a PowerPoint presentation. I showed it to them. And at the end, when I thought, and I wasn't given much time, total of 20 minutes. So I aimed for a 15-minute talk and then questions and answers. And so I sort of rushed through it. I'm going to take a little bit more time this time showing you that same PowerPoint. And I thought, man, they're just going to, when I say, are there any questions, it will be crickets and that'll be it. And they'll think, why did she come? Well, that wasn't the case. First hand that went up was the judge. He was eating a certain thing and he wanted to be sure it was a good idea. It was packaged beets. Uh, I think they're called only beets, and I'm pretty sure that they're purchased at Costco, just steamed beets in a shrink bag. And I said, yeah, those were great. And the fellow across from me, the attorney, had a question about what he is eating and how he is doing, and another person said, my diet isn't quite like that, but I've been working out and I'm trying to take care of myself. In other words, the entire group came alive with questions and concerns that had to do with exactly what I was covering, and that is aging with power. And most of these people weren't, well, I don't know if most weren't retired, but they were anywhere from their 50s, I believe. I think maybe there were some in the 40s. to the retirees that may have been in their 70s or 80s or maybe 60s. So I'm going to show you this PowerPoint, and I'm calling it just the basics of aging powerfully because I've done so many videos. I think I have 430 videos on this channel, cooking demonstrations, all under the same directive, and that is that lifestyle as medicine with foods chosen well and these other pillars that I'll talk about today, just these basics, can add years to our life. This city I'm in is 15 minutes away from Loma Linda, California, which was an area somewhat founded by the Seventh-day Adventists, and their hospital was built there, gosh, what, 40, 50 years ago. And they are a blue zone. They were designated one of the original 5 blue zones in the world for having a population that was at the centenarian level, 100-year-olds who are still healthy, as are the other blue zones. So I'm going to take you through the video and then I'll invite you to consider watching my other videos, and I'll give you a couple of recommendations of things to watch if this piques your interest. Bottom line, we're looking to age with power. I am now 74. My goal and what I wrote in my book as my mission is to, from this point on, for the next 1, 2, or 3 decades, in other words, my 80s, 90s, and maybe even into 100, I will continue to pass the word about lifestyle as medicine and the things that we can do to live long and strong and enjoy every day. So I hope you get something out of this. I hope it's something that inspires you as it did that group. I'm about to share my screen, pull up my PowerPoint, and let's begin. And just a moment, sorry. Let's see, here we go. Okay. Continue to share. Okay. All right. So again, I'm Nan Simonsen. I wrote my book. This is the cover, which in Audible, in a vocal format. The cover of the represented book is square rather than as a rectangle. So this is the cover of the Audible um, uh, version of my book, and I will talk about aging powerfully. By accepting our past and taking control of our future, we can find vibrant health, balance, and joy. I believe I have. It's going on 7 years now that I made a transition. Let me take you back. This gentleman, Dr. Ellsworth Warham, is in his mid-90s in this photo, still strong, still water skiing, and at 95, he was assisting in operating rooms as a cardiologist, working with people in very complicated surgeries. He was one of the first to work on open heart surgeries and heart transplants. He passed away in his sleep at 104. This is Deborah Seke. She was a young woman on the left. She and her husband, in a little town just on the other side of the Mexican border, a town called Tecate, Mexico, founded a health a health spa, a health resort. People had to pay to come, and they would bring a tent and they would sleep in the tent and they would learn from her and her professor husband about natural health, about natural eating, basically whole food plant, primarily plant-based. They may have eaten fish back then. And her Rancho La Puerta is still there, and Deborah now is 100 years old. I'll be going to Rancho La Puerta in just 3 weeks. It'll be my 6th stay there, and I'll be helping Chef AJ, who will be there showing her skills in cooking classes. I'll be her sous chef in those cooking classes. This is me with Judy Goodman. Judy on the left was in her early 90s. Judy on the right is, let me get this little photo out of the way there. Judy on the right is 106. This was her birthday. I was there. She passed away about a month later, quietly in her sleep. These are the people that inspire me to believe in what lifestyle can do for us. Oh, why can't I move forward there? This is Edgardo Simone. Edgardo is my brother. I love him. He was 70, well, maybe he was 71 there. At 72, he had a stroke one night and never recovered. A week later, we realized that he wasn't going to wake up from the coma, and um, he passed away when we took off the machines. Edgardo lived life the way he chose to. He wasn't going to be tethered by restrictions, and he didn't sleep well because he was a musician. As a matter of fact, he's in the Golden Globes um, recognition archives as a composer and orchestrator of a number of famous films and famous film series. But he passed away a year ago, and I still mourn that I couldn't have had more of an impact on helping give him the 10, 20, or maybe 30 years that I believe he could have had if he could have made some health choices. Dan Buettner talks about these blue zones that I mentioned and the commonalities, those 9 lessons for living longer from the people who have lived the longest in the world. And they are simple things. It's not necessarily easy for us to change to these things, but they are simple things. And whatever we set our mind to, we can change and we can come to love. I have found that in my own life, along with my husband, who practices exactly what I do on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. The city that I live in is Riverside, California, right by the blue zone of Loma Linda. Well, we just had a kickoff celebration because our general area, called the Inland Empire of Southern California, has 5 cities that have been offered the opportunity to work with the Blue Zones Corporation for a 5-year period and the chance to be then recognized as one of the healthiest cities in the nation. Our city, the largest of these 5, Riverside, California, was given $20 million to reconfigure things in our city to make the healthy choice the easy choice in transportation, walking and bike roads, in school lunches, in restaurant menus, in parks and recreational facilities. And we're so proud of that. We launched this to our city on May 17th, and I'm part of that organization as a volunteer in the community outreach sector. Lifestyle interventions, we call them pillars of health in our organization. And they are included in those 9 pillars that that Dan Buettner talks about. And I'm going to keep this talk as simple as staying with those pillars. And they include food, nutrition up on the upper left. The right represents movement. The lower left represents community, and you might think, oh, come on, that can't help people live longer. Actually, people will fade into nothingness. And what I mean is people with diseases that are even mild will go very quickly through the worst ends of those diseases if they are isolated, if they are lonely, if they're not connected to other people. Connection can help us live longer, stronger, and whole countries know this and honor this as they honor their elderly. And then on the lower right, sleep and stress management. So let's talk first about movement. Physical activity is essential for our bodies. It lets our brain know what to do with our body. And what we're looking at is moving cardiovascular, uh, in a cardiovascular way. In other words, get our heart pumping, give us stamina, strength using weights or our own body weight to build strength so that we can stand easily, so that we can lift, we can bend in everyday situations and have the power to do that going even into our later years. And then flexibility and coordination. In other words, as we get older, you hear more and more about people falling or hurting themselves as they get older because they become more stiff, the joints become a little bit less movable. All of that can be helped with other modalities that can keep us going strong again into our 90s and 100 and beyond. Naturopathy, sunshine, fresh air, those are free and those make a difference. One of the best things we can do every day is get out into the light first thing in the morning, spend some time out there reading a paper, having some coffee, doing some yoga, just taking a brief walk or a long walk. That's when I cycle, just like that gentleman. I think he's cycling in the sunset, though. And the fresh air is something that is necessary for us on a number of levels, including something called our microbiome. So, activities of daily living are where we put all of this into practice and understanding that not sitting without regular movement is one of the worst things that we can do. I was listening to a podcast of a woman who has run 68 marathons. She's almost 90, and every 20 minutes there was a sound coming from her phone, even during this interview, because she says she sets her phone to remind her that every 20 minutes she has to stand up and do some movement, whether it's squats or lunges or toe touches or something, just to keep her body from getting stiffer and to keep all of the fluids flowing. Let's look at what that can look like. This is a group of people that I have seen for years on a mountain. It's only 1,000 feet high near my home called Mount Rubidoux. My husband walks it every morning. And the woman in the middle is Jane. And Jane in this photo was 90. And I know that it kept her young because of that movement and the connection with the people that looked forward to seeing Jane. In my 70s, I was 72, and our local one of our most important landmarks, now called the Mission Inn, was going back to doing their races, and they were offering 5K and 10K and half marathon positions. And I thought, well, I'll do a 10K. I had never even run down the block. I've always thought I couldn't. And there was an app, Couch to 10K. And so I let that train me to run. Well, it's about 6 miles, a little more than 6 miles for a 10K. And I ended up doing three 10Ks. And then I trained for a half marathon, and I actually ran a half marathon. That's over 13 miles. I'm not sure if I was the last one in that day, but I never gave up and I got to the finish line, and I was number 2 or 3 in my class, but there weren't many other 70, what was I at that point, 72-year-olds that were running half marathons that day. The woman next to me is Elena, and she runs marathons and half marathons, and she's 8 or 9 years older than I am. She was a wonderful mentor. I cycle now. I tore a meniscus rather badly in one of my knees, and it has been stiff and painful since then. I can ride easily. I just can't run anymore. And that's okay. So now in the mornings, I get out and I get my light, my sunlight, my movement. I purposely go for hills. And cycling is a great way to get exercise. Golfing, gardening, Tai Chi, yoga, dancing. These all keep us moving, strong, and help us with our balance so that as we get older, we stay on our 2 feet. Resilience, that is our way of compartmentalizing two things, both sleep and or combining two things, both sleep and stress management. So let's start with sleep. It's advised, it's recommended that we, with rare exceptions, are meant to have at least 7 to 8 or even 9 hours of sleep a day. When we shortchange that, we shortchange our brain and we shortchange our body, because when we're sleep deprived, we actually send out the signal that instead of on in rest and digest mode, we are in stress mode. And it means that all of our organs work poorly until the stress goes down. Sleep or lack of it will do that to us. Stress management. It's important that we understand that stress does the same thing. It raises our cortisol. It sets up our parasympathetic, not sympathy like I'll take care of you, but parasympathetic system with adrenaline and cortisol and keeps us in fight or flight mode. Again, we don't digest well and our organs don't work well when we are in that state. So, stress management through meditation, and meditation really works. Every day, I do a meditation and I do it every evening before I go to bed. Only 12 minutes. It's an app that I use, um, a curtain Kriya kind of a meditation, but there are lots of options. Releasing and replacing is a way of looking at stress management that is a two-part strategy aimed at improving emotional and mental well-being, by actively letting go of harmful thoughts and behaviors and emotions, that's the releasing, and intentionally adopting healthier, more supportive alternatives. I'm going to be watching for it. I'm going to do a video on exactly this, the releasing and replacing actions and activities that can help with stress management. Rest and renewal, each moment with the way we think, daily with the movement that we take, weekly with activities that we can do with our family and friends, and annually, quite often, with time spent, holidays, celebrations, where we oh, just accept that life will go on in our very, very busy way, in spite of the fact that we take time off and take time away to celebrate our individuality, but also our just enjoyment of life as we should. The circadian clock, the concept of the circadian clock in 2017 was the subject of recognition, um, for a team of physiologists, because it was offered, these physiologists got a Nobel Prize for their understanding that I can't get this out, molecular mechanisms in our body were controlled by a circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm clock is most strongly affected by light. Light in the morning starts our clock. The lack of light later in the evening is what stops it. When we eat, when we sleep, all of those are part of an expectation that is set up in our bodies using that circadian rhythm to give us the best health we can have, or when we disrupt it and we disrupt it regularly, to make everything else that we do right not serve us well because it's not serving that circadian rhythm. All living things have a circadian clock, and that's all I'll say about that now. Sleep is metabolically active. It's something that allows us to process what we saw, what we learned, what we thought during a day. It sorts it out, it cements in what we're meant to keep, and allows to diffuse what isn't necessary, and without sleep, we can't do that. Eating mindfully and with gratitude is also one way that we can de-stress and to help us add calmness to our life because we eat several times a day. And in a busy society, a lot of people eat in their car, eat on the run, eat while they're walking, instead of taking the time to be grateful, to be mindful, and to enjoy the foods that we have been offered. Meditation. This is just simple meditation that my 5-year-old grandson years ago was taught. Anybody can do it. And then the understanding that being mindful of giving ourselves rest and rejuvenation on a regular basis, it can actually help us become well when we're struggling with illness. I did a 6-week program with Dr. Brooke Goldner, who is known for helping people reverse autoimmune diseases. She helped me with that with my Hashimoto's, goodbye Hashimoto's, in a 6-week period of time. We had a very strict plant-based raw diet that we followed, but she talked every day about the mindful practices that helped us calm our body, calm our nervous system, and allow us to heal. And one of the things she talked about a lot were things like baths and mindful walks and mindful eating. They make a difference. And then just finding fun in life. I saw this and I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, cute cartoons, keep them around. They'll make you smile and they kind of lighten your load. Connectiveness or connectedness, social supports, family, friends, groups, networks, they all matter. They're considered horizontal connections. They are in our world. Spiritual supports include purpose, meaning, presence. Those are vertical connections, and I'll look at that a little bit later as well. This group of us, we call ourselves We Three, have met for lunch for a long, long time, and we count on seeing each other. It well, I won't go any further, even though there's a bit of a story to it, so I'll leave that for another time. This is my family, at least part of my family. This is an extended group that we saw here in 2012, and I'm so grateful that we did before people moved around or moved away or passed on. Life purpose. People say to me all the time, well, I don't have purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. So I'm going to invite you to look at 3 things, those top 3 circles. What you love doing. What do you love doing? What does the world need? And what are you good at? If you can combine those 3, what you're good at, what you love doing, what the world needs, you can find passion, you can find a mission in the middle that becomes your purpose. If these can include that bottom rung, what you can get paid for, and you're looking for a vocation or a profession, you have that there as well. Just knowing and understanding that this universe clearly has a power that we don't understand. We can't make the things the universe has evolved through and evolved around and has growing around us every day in nature. And so simply trusting that we are mm, that we are not responsible for and not capable of necessarily changing those things in our life that we, well, cannot control, can give us the freedom to simply release them to a power that is greater than us and can help us find a way to take peace on a daily basis. Nourishment. Now let's talk about food because, quite frankly, look at your arms, look at your legs, look at your hands. You are, at a cellular level, what you eat. In terms of nutrition, we're talking about the food you eat, the water and other things that you drink, and anything else that goes in your system, tobacco, drugs, pollutants, toxic substances. Today we'll stick with food, but be aware that everything that we put in our body affects us again at a cellular level. The food on the left, unfortunately, is ubiquitous in Western cultures. When people go out, they tend to get things that are what I consider not even real food, full of chemicals, full of preservatives, full of additives, full of colorants, full of emulsifiers so that they look good longer in a bottle. On the right, you have food as close to nature as possible, real food. And that food, and you'll see a chart of the, I'll call it nutrients that are actual chemicals and what they can do for you. Our most prominent causes of death, those chronic illnesses that we're losing most of our population to, about 70%, include heart disease and cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, infections, kidney disease. So many of these can be prevented by living as if our lifestyle is medicine, because quite frankly, it is. Dr. Robert Lustig has been very, very vocal, and this is his most recent book, Metabolical, um, as pointing his finger at the diabolical nature of the processed food industry and, quite frankly, in some cases, modern medicine. Just take this pill. You don't have to do a thing. You're going to take it the rest of your life, and it'll allow you to think that you're well. It's not going to make you well. It's going to allow you to think that. He's all about showing us that nutrition, that avoiding certain things and making sure we go after other things can keep us living long and strong, well, the way we want to be. This is his. Again, the right is our abundant, um, overprocessed world that unfortunately is traveling through nations outside of our area and even to the poorest countries. And this is what's happening to the people. A body made out of food that isn't real can't perform and can't perform for long. The fellow on the left is built strong and lean with the foods that are as close to nature as possible. And the point here is the benefits of eating fruits and vegetables. Dr. Lustig and others say people are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry that pays no attention to food. Doctors simply don't even ask you what you're eating, they simply treat you. So, if we're looking for guidelines, let's just say that our general approach to food is more important than specific types of food. The best nutritional advice yet comes from the journalist Michael Pollan when he wrote In Defense of Food. And he said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Well, I, 7 years ago, decided to make it all plants, whole food, plant-based. That doesn't mean you have to, but most people eat 70% of what they eat out of packages, out of fast food restaurants, or out of a meat tray, out of a meat market. And they're missing so much of what plants can offer you. One of the reasons is that people don't believe that plant protein can give you the same strength and life-giving energy that animal protein can. The problem is when you look at all of the specifics as it relates to the effects of animal protein in our body, animal protein is pro-inflammatory. Plant protein may not be quite as strong at a cellular level, but it absolutely will build any body to the degree that the person wants, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it actually helps heal us rather than causing a lot of chemical changes in our body that are damaging. Whole food, plant-based is gorgeous. Fruits and vegetables, seeds and grains, um, legumes, and starchy vegetables. This is one of my favorite representations. Phytonutrients, antioxidants. When we say to people, consider eating colors of the rainbow, I won't go through all of these, but let me give you an example. The top one is red. Red foods, tomatoes and tomato products, watermelon, guava, they have antioxidants, phytonutrients, phytochemicals that the orange foods don't have. So I think I'm going to have carrot, or I think I'm going to have tomatoes, but I also want carrots because the orange ones, the yams and sweet potatoes and carrots and mango and pumpkin, they have other phytonutrients, phytochemicals, beta carotene, and immune power antioxidants. Let's go down to the purple. The blueberries and the grapes and the plums, they have something called anthocyanins. They destroy free radicals, which are inflammatory in our body. That let's say the brown foods like brown grains and whole grains and legumes, they have fiber, and fiber is a carcinogenic removal element. It actually helps pull through our body the things that we don't want. All of these foods have fiber. All of these foods have some color that's going to give a nutrient or an antioxidant that another might not have. So, whole food plant-based, can I get this from a pale piece of fish, from a chicken leg, from a steak? No, not at all. I'll get saturated fat and I'll get um, protein, but not much else. Beans and seeds and legumes, all of these will give us all the protein that we need on a plant-based diet. We'll also find reasons to smile. Isn't this pretty? I just love this when I saw it. Love the mandarins and love the cat. So, what does eating a whole food plant-based diet look like? Well, I'll give you some of my own options. These are blueberry pancakes made with buckwheat flour. This is oats made with soy milk as well as oat groats that I pre-cook, and then I just heat them and throw berries and the soy milk on it. It's a great breakfast. Lunch might be a salad with beets and pecans and sprouts and arugula. It might also be a sandwich. On your upper right, those are two open face avocado, onion, tomato sandwiches. That's a little plate of crudités with an apple in front of it, salad on the left-hand lower side, and an air-fried potato on the upper side. That's my husband's lunch. He has it almost every day. And burgers, I love burgers, but I won't eat an animal product. So give me a whole grain burger and pickle and onion and tomato and ketchup and mayonnaise. And I use a ketchup that has no sugar in it, but I'll take a bean burger any day. And how about tacos? I think soy makes a great, or tofu, grilled tofu or air fried tofu makes a great filling for tacos. And this is a meal that my husband and I get every Sunday when we go to a vegan restaurant near us called Oasis. That's in the back. We're looking at roasted mushrooms and vegetables and potatoes, and tacos are filled with tofu with an aioli sauce. All whole food, plant-based, 100% vegan. And then even desserts. This is apple and carrot and oats and strawberries and melted vegan chocolate. Yum. So are we giving up anything? No, we're just getting used to something a little different that can give us a longer life. I'll take it. Healthy eating plate. This comes from Harvard. You're looking at half the plate with fruits and vegetables, some grains, some healthy proteins, again, seeds, nuts. And if somebody has no intention of being completely plant-based, then let the protein be a small portion rather than your entire plate with 3 spears of asparagus. You'll still get the flavors that you love, but you'll get used to and fall in love with all of these nutritional foods alongside of that animal product. This was me at 74. I am 74 now. I'm a couple minutes down from my husband or my son's house at the beach, walking along the sand, so grateful that nothing hurts, that I can move as if I were in my 40s, that I'm loving life, looking forward to the next 10, 20, 30 years, knock on wood, and that when it comes to this, my last day, I want to know that I had given it everything I had and taken it as long as I could and had a ball all the way through. I'll bring you back on. Bring you back on. There. Okay. Well, that's what I showed the group. And the response I got made me very happy because I realized that everybody, regardless of what they're used to eating, can imagine, well, almost everybody, that life could be so much better if we didn't spend our days and weeks and months fearing the diseases that we tend to see all around us. At 74, you can imagine how many people I have seen, well, funerals, um, struggle with getting older, fearing where it would take them physically, and struggling to enjoy their days the way I have found I've been able to, and the people that I work with in a lifestyle medical uh, centered way um, enjoy life. We find a way to get through our days having so much freedom from ill health that it makes every decision we've made to get there the right decision. And it's now the easy decision. I hope you learned something. I hope this was helpful. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I want to tell you I love you. I appreciate your being here. Consider aging powerfully. And please subscribe if you haven't and pass this along to other people and give it a thumbs up and have a great day because I know I'm going to. You take care.